Abraham lived 1900 years before Christ. We are 2000 years after Christ. I've got this stuff in other videos, but I wanted this to have a video of its own. So, whenever Christ came, they said that it was the last days, that the time was short, that there wasn't many days left. They said many things. Now, the whole covenant from Abraham through the prophets, through the law, through the kings, was only 1900 years. And whenever those prophets spoke, they spoke about the end times and things coming later. Daniel was told to seal up the words of the prophecy because it wouldn't happen for many days and that it would be in the time of the end, right? But John was told not to seal the words of the prophecy of that book, which was written to the 7 churches in Asia, and it says it at the beginning, and it says it again at the end, that he said that unto the churches in Asia. Those churches don't exist anymore because that's over. Jesus Christ already returned. He came back in 70 AD. Those things, my point is, how can the whole covenant of 1900 years through circumcision, Abraham, the law, the prophets, the kings, all those things, how can that only be 1900 years and then the last days, whenever the time is short, whenever it says that Christ appeared once in the end of the world, whenever the apostles said, to us whom the ends of the world are come, whenever Christ said this generation will not pass, whenever all of them said that the time was short, that there wasn't many days left, that just so many things. Seal not the words of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. These things must shortly come to pass. We know that it is the last time. All these things were said back then. And it is as plain as anything, if you believe the Bible story to be true, that Christ already returned. Said some of them standing there would not taste death until they saw him coming in the clouds and in his kingdom. All this already happened. That's why today's Christianity is the way it is, because it's all fake. How can the last days be 2,000 years if the whole covenant was only 1900? How can the time being short and that generation not passing? Whenever in Matthew it says the book of the generations of Christ, right? That's what it starts out with. And it says that you're like 40 generations from Abraham to Christ, And then he says, in this generation will not pass. It said that what did he say? The death of all the prophets would come upon that generation, for them killing the prophets and their fathers killing the prophets. All that would come on that generation. They called themselves the elect of God. And Christ said, if the days are not shortened for the elect's sake, then no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened. So they were the elect. If Christ hasn't returned already, and the end of that age has not happened, then nobody was saved, because the days weren't shortened. The apostles were given the commission to go preach, not us. They were told that they would go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. And Paul said twice that had already happened in his day. He said, have they not heard? Verily they've heard, our sound went out into all the earth. He said that they preached to every creature under heaven, and that everyone heard. That was them. 12 apostles given 12 thrones to judge the 12 tribes of Israel. 1 apostle from each tribe to go out and seal up 12,000 of each tribe. And then Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles. So he was the 13th, and he went and preached to the Gentiles. There's no way that the last days are 2,000 years when the covenant was only 1900 years. And then Christ came in the end of the world. So what we have today is God being all and in all. Everybody has access to God. Going back to religion is making everybody reject that, and has for 2,000 years. Today you have God all in all. You don't have a Holy Spirit. You don't have a Comforter. That it was sent while Christ was away until he returned to put the law of God inside of people. You don't have anything like that. But you do have direct access to God, and when you die, you'll see a light, and you can decide whether or not to go into that light. That is the way life works now. But because of this false Christianity that has taken over the whole world over the last 2,000 years, that isn't through Christ or God, obviously. You just look at how it was made, how the Bible was made, how Christianity was spread. Look at the statistics of Christianity. you know that God has nothing to do with it. But because of all this, there's going to be a war, and everybody's going to think it's the end of the world, and this is going to bring the end of another age where Christianity won't rule the government anymore. Who knows? Maybe China will. It's the obvious answer in most people's minds. They think China will take over. But there will be a war between Muslims and Jews, which make up over half the world's Muslims and Christians, which make up over half the world's population. The Jews will be wiped out again. No temple will be built. No Antichrist will come, but everybody's going to think it is. There will be a war over the Temple Mount. Everybody's going to think it's the end of the world and that everything they heard was true. But then whenever no Antichrist comes, no rapture happens, Jesus doesn't return, and the Temple Mount is destroyed rather than a temple being built, and the Jews are wiped out yet again, and the power shifts in the world where Christianity is no longer ruling, and the governments that are Christian are no longer ruling. People are going to fall away from Christianity finally and understand that it is not here anymore. It's something in the past that happened a long time ago. And the whole world's going to change. That's what's coming in our generation or soon after, I imagine. I don't know any of these things for a fact. But I imagine this war is going to happen. Maybe soon, maybe 50 years, I don't know. But there will be a war, and everybody's going to go, Christ didn't come. There was no Antichrist. There was no mark of the beast, and the world's going to keep going as it always does. But there will be a big change in the world. So we should probably try to focus on how the world is going to change, and I don't know how that'll be. I don't know what happens after. But yeah, this isn't the end of the world. This isn't the last days. That already happened. This is probably going to be the end of another age, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and everybody's going to think it's the end of the world. And it's not going to happen. So, and that's going to make Christianity go away. There won't be hardly any Christians anymore. People will be like, it's been 2,000 years, we heard it all. Nothing happened. No temple was built. No Messiah came. No Antichrist. No mark of the beast. But everybody's going to think everything is that at first, And then the world's going to change. I know I said it all a bunch over and over there. I just getting it out. This isn't the end, guys. The world is not ending. Christ is not returning.